sleep on first-year head coach Craig Boyle at Wyoming. There's enough talent to work with on both sides of the ball, and he'll be able to stabilize that defense while playing efficient football offensively and could surprise in the Mountain West Conference. While I wouldn't necessarily say that this is off the wall, so to speak, because Maryland has a lot of good talent returning, led by Stephon Diggs. They'll get tested throughout the course of their schedule, but could be 5-0 by the time they host Ohio State on October the 4th. UCF misses the top 25 for now because of having to replace Blake Bortles, but make no bones about it, they're loaded on both sides of the ball and could ride the running game and defense until quarterback Justin Holman gets up to speed. A lot of people are high on Ole Miss, but two things keep them out of my top 25, the loss of key receiving options in Dante Moncrief and James Logan, and the inconsistent Bo Wallace. If Wallace is able to stabilize his passing, the Rebels could be a dark horse in the SEC West. Syracuse is on the cusp, in my opinion. I like the way they finished last season as the offense finally got it into gear, and they're going to be tough defensively, and their biggest test will come September 20th versus Maryland. BYU lost some big-time pieces on the defensive side, but quarterback Taysom Hill and running back Jamal Williams running behind a very senior-laden offensive line make the Cougars a team to watch in 2014. 8 starters returning on one of the most potent offenses in the country. The Navy midshipmen find themselves just missing out on the top 25, but with quarterback Keenan Reynolds leading the way, they could be the talk of the nation August 30th at home versus Ohio State. The Raging Cajuns kick off my top 25. Louisiana has an offense that averaged 33 points a game last year and a defense that got better towards year's end that returns 9 starters. And keep an eye on running back Elijah McGuire, as he could end up making numerous postseason All-American teams. Former Boise State head coach Chris Peterson inherits a very talented Husky squad that can get after the quarterback, and on offense, if quarterback Tyler Miles can hold his own, Washington could surprise in the Pac-12. The Thundering Herd comes rolling in at number 23. Quarterback Rakeem Cato is the most polished quarterback in the country. 8 starters return defensively, and the way the schedule sets up, they could end up running the table and going undefeated. Don't underestimate the Charlie Strong effect. The Longhorns have a very good defense and go 3 deep in the backfield, and I think they'll be just fine this year in the Big 12. LSU has a very young football team, but of red-hot freshman sensations Leonard Fournette, Malachi Dupree, Trey Quinn, and even quarterback Brandon Harris can excel early, they'll definitely rise in the rankings by midseason. The Hokies have a strong secondary, and defensive tackle Luther Maddie is a monster on the inside. The offense returns 9 starters, and in my opinion will be much better even without the school's all-time leading passer in Logan Thomas. This may be the year the Huskers truly break through. Both running back Amir Abdullah and defensive end Randy Gregory are 2 game breakers, but it's the Huskers' special teams that'll make them a tough matchup week in, week out. The biggest question for the Clemson Tigers is at quarterback. Do they go with Cole Stout or the true freshman Deshaun Watson? Either way, they'll benefit from having enough offensive weapons to be successful and a very good defense led by senior defensive end Vic Beasley. Running back Melvin Gordon will run his way into the Heisman race, and if they can replace key losses in the front 7 on the defensive side of the football, the Wisconsin Badgers will be able to run their way to a possible Big Ten title. North Carolina is a dangerous football team that plays well in all 3 facets, offense, defense, and special teams, and it'll be interesting to see how they involve the electric Ryan Switzer more in the offense this season. New head coach Steve Sarkisian gets a Trojan team that has 14 starters returning, and I'll go out on a limb and say that both Sua Cravens and Leon McQuaid may be the best safety duo in the country. For Notre Dame, getting Everett Golson back at quarterback is a big-time boost for the offense, but they still have some questions on the offensive line and at linebacker, and we'll get a chance to see how well the linebacking core does week 1 versus Rice, who loves to spread the field. Next up are the Georgia Bulldogs, and we know they can run. We know they're athletic defensively, but can they put it all together and play consistently for a full season? Well, Gurley and company will get started early versus Clemson, just like last season, so we'll see. Here's my surprise team in the top 25, the Houston Cougars. 17 starters return, and sophomore quarterback John O'Korn, who was the AAC Rookie of the Year, should only get better in year 2. And I would keep an eye on their defense, especially the linebacking core. They have a huge test week 1 versus Texas San Antonio, and the schedule does set up nice for the Cougars to make a deep run. Despite losing some key players defensively, the Gamecocks have more than enough talent to maintain success. Quarterback Dylan Thompson, along with running back Mike Davis, wide receiver Shaq Rowland, they should help the offense remain potent. August and September will be a tough slate as they have to play A&M, East Carolina, Georgia, as well as Missouri. This may be one of the most talented UCLA teams in a long time, and despite the great numbers, all eyes will be on quarterback Brett Huntley to make huge strides this year, while two-way player Miles Jack will lead a Bruin defense that should once again be stout versus the run. Baylor's offense alone puts them in the top 10, and they'll need that offense as they're replacing 7 starters on a defense that was vastly underrated last year. Quarterback Marcus Mariota leads the explosive Ducks into the 2014 season, hoping that they can finally avoid the slip-ups that plagued them the last 3 years and make it to the title game. One of the most fundamentally sound football teams in the country are the Michigan State Spartans, and this team lost some key players at linebacker as well as in the secondary, but still are my dark horse squad to make the national championship game. Stanford plays a brand of football that no one wants to face, and their biggest concern is along the offensive interior, but those things can be ironed out, and look for Ty Montgomery as well as Barry Sanders Jr. to provide many highlight plays offensively. If the Sugar Bowl Trevor Knight shows up all season, Oklahoma will be tough to beat, and I think he will, and the Sooners, especially defensively, could find themselves in the Final Four at season's end. Talent at Alabama is the last thing we'll ever have to worry about. The worry is whether or not quarterback Jacob Coker is the real deal. Either way, this team will be carried by a talented backfield and a solid defense led by safety Landon Collins. Once again, the Buckeyes are well stocked with talent, and look for quarterback Braxton Miller to be in the mix for the Heisman Trophy this year, while defensive ends Joey Bosa and Noah Spence, along with middle linebacker Curtis Grant, will once again make life very tough for opposing offenses every week. The Auburn Tigers debut at number 2, and you can't ignore the coaching element that Gus Malzahn brings to the table, and I think we'll see much more from Nick Marshall passing the football this year than we saw last season, which could ultimately make them even more dangerous in 2014. Despite losing 10 players to the NFL, the Florida State Seminoles still have top to bottom the most talented roster in the country, led by the reigning Heisman Trophy winner quarterback Jameis Winston, and until someone knocks them off, they'll remain number 1.